Now we're going to go to Romans. So that was some Old Testament stuff. So let's get some New Testament in here. Romans 13, 1 and 2. Let every person be subject to the governing authorities. Well, I could stop right there. That says enough, right? Be subject to the governing authorities. But let's go on. For there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authorities resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment. So this is saying the structure of the government has been structured by God. In Numbers, in Deuteronomy, laws in Leviticus were laid down for a foundation. Our Constitution itself, the early writings of our country, quoted the most quoted document in those early documents from our country is I believe Deuteronomy. Of any other ancient text, Deuteronomy is the most quoted. So let's see. Let's go on to Romans 13:3. For rulers are not a terror to good conduct. So that makes me think of the situation with ICE or anti-ICE agitators. I hesitate to call them protesters because of what they've done. If you're agitating, you're not protesting. And we'll get to that in a second. I'll show you a short video. For rulers are not terror. Okay, let's see. They are not terrors to good conduct, but to bad. Would you have no fear of them, the one who is in authority? When, then do what is good, and you will receive his approval. So just obey the law, basically, is what that's saying. For he is God's servant for your good. The police officer, the one that's in authority, is there for our good, which is, of course, is 100% true. The people that these protesters and agitators are defending, for one, you probably don't even know who Renee Good was defending. You probably don't even know who, I forget the other guy's name. You don't even know who he was defending. And they didn't know. They didn't know what they were doing because ICE didn't have to show them whatever paperwork because they have no authority. So let's get back to this. So they are God's servants, but if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain, for he is the servant of God, an avenger who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoer. That's just common sense. You would never tell your kids. I said this in the previous video. You would never tell your kids to defy, or you shouldn't do this. And if you do, please stop. You shouldn't tell your kids to defy authority. You're just asking for trouble, and they can make all kinds of trouble for you. And you don't need it. You don't need that heat, right? Romans 13, 5 and 6. Therefore, one must be in subjection, not only to avoid God's wrath, but also for the sake of conscience. Because you know right and wrong. You know you shouldn't be doing it, so don't do it. That's what that's saying. For because of this, you also pay your taxes, right? For the authorities are ministers of God, even though they charge too many taxes in California particularly, you still pay them because it's the law. I mean, I have a right to move out, which we have been considering it on and off for several years.